Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias.
Hey everybody, Tobias here, and welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. And what I am doing today is I am kicking off a new series. Now this series is being created off of an open tag that was started by Stan's Cutlery Universe. He began an open tag called Frosty Friday. So this is going to be airing on Fridays. It's not going to be every Friday because, well, for one thing, Skip would not like that. There is this thing called Skip the Show's Fun Knife Friday, and so this will be competing with that. So some Fridays will have Skip the Show's Fun Knife Friday. Other ones will have me talking about Frost knives. And obviously, if you're familiar with Skip the Show's Fun Knife Friday, you know Skip shows a lot of Bowie knives, and a lot of those Bowie knives were also knives made by Frost. So will it be a crossover? I don't know, but maybe he'll have his say about a Frost knife, and I'll have my say about a Frost Bowie, you know, something like that. I don't know. But this will be probably at least once a month. Sometimes it might be twice in a month that you'll have a Frosty Friday. Now, Frosty Friday was created by Stan's Cutlery Universe, and I believe he is still doing it. And I would love to see a few other people out there partake in this Frosty Friday. I know there's more than just Stan and I that actually have a few Frost knives in our collection. And I also know that a lot of people have nothing good to say about Frost knives. And before I actually get to what I was going to show you here, I want to go into that a little bit because I too am one of those people. For the longest time, I had nothing good to say about Frost knives. I watched Cutlery Corner Network. This was back in the days when I was also watching Knives Live TV, and it was like, all right, I'm going to watch Knives Live TV and see all the really good knives, because Knives Live TV showed lots of case knives. They even showed the occasional Randall fixed blade. They were showing Queen Cutlery and all these other, you know, Shat and Morgan. And then the Rough Rider line, which I really liked the Rough Rider line. And a lot of people at that time were talking about, well, Steel Warriors are just as good as Rough Riders, but I always looked at Steel Warriors and it's like they don't look anything nearly as good as a Rough Rider. But in any case, you know, it was like, I think it was Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday was the days for Knives Live TV. Don't quote me on that. It might not have been Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, but I think it was. And then you had Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday and Saturday for Cutlery Corner Network. So almost every day of the week, you could watch some kind of knife show. And so I'd also tune in for Cutlery Corner Network and watch those shows. They had the sprint runs back then, not the sprint run. I don't remember exactly what they were called, but it's in what I'll be talking about in a little bit. In any case, they had this show where they would show individual knives, and that was a really good part because that's where they would show like case knives and things like that. But they also had the big deals, you know, the 100 knives for $100. And for most parts, that's the part that they focused on with Cutlery Corner Network back then. It was the 100 knives for $100, and they would tell you that it's $1,000 worth of merchandise that you're getting for $100. And I have actually done videos where I talked about this and said, look, if Jim Frost thought he could sell those knives for $1,000, he would be selling them for $1,000. So don't think that you're going to be able to buy his 100 knives for $100 and then sell them at 10 times that price. Those are not $10 knives. I would say that, I said that on old web page that I used to have. I've said it on earlier videos that I did here at Knife Chats too, that those knives are worth exactly what Jim Frost is selling them at. If he could make more money off of them, he would sell them for more. And I still believe that. There is the sales pitch that is going on with those shows, just like any other YouTube channel now that is pitching a knife towards you. If you go to SMKW, they have their site where they're showing the various knives out there. They're selling them at the retail price. Frost has numerous brands of knives that he's selling to you. He will tell you the retail price, and then he will tell you what he's selling it at. And sometimes he'll say it's less than wholesale or something like that. It's not. He's selling it to you at the market value price. That's really what's going on. Now, do people make money selling his knives? Yes, they do. And they are retailers. They know what they're doing. Can an individual break into the market with some of his big purchases, one of those big deals? Probably, but you're not going to be the next Jim Frost by buying his knives and trying to sell them like you're Jim Frost. Let me just put it that way. Any case, what I also wanted to point out is that I was one of those people. I was a very big anti-Jim Frost knife guy. Tell people all the time, you don't want to buy Frost knives, they're just junk and so on and so forth. And someone called me out on it at one time and said, well, how many Frost knives do you have? And I said, I don't have any. I refuse to buy them. And he sent me a box of Frost knives. It's like, okay, I guess I can give these away. Well, I opened the box up, started going through them, and I was actually impressed with the quality of several of the knives. And I actually looked them up on eBay at the time to see how much they were going for. And it was like, okay, they're selling for about the same price as a Rough Rider, maybe a little bit more than a Rough Rider. But these were a bunch of Steel Warriors, a couple of Coe Rivers, and then also some knives that were just Frost brand. And for the most part, the slip joint knives that he had sent me were the quality of the build they were all very similar to Rough Riders. They had that little sticker that Frost is known to put on the blades, that where the Rockwell test was done. So he's saying that the HRC for the blade was 56 to 58, which is the same as what Rough Rider says on their knives. They just don't put a sticker on there. But, and they were all 448, just like Rough Riders. And they came out of the box just as sharp as the Rough Riders. The only thing that I was not impressed with the Steel Warriors and a couple of the other Frost knives was the jigging pattern in the bone. I liked the jigging pattern that I saw in Rough Riders over that of the Steel Warriors. And I also liked some of the coloring in the bone. I liked the coloring in the bone more in the Rough Riders than I did in many of the Steel Warriors. However, there were a few knives within that collection where I really liked the color of the bone, and I really was impressed with the jigging. They had some really interesting jiggings also. So he did things different than Rough Rider, and some of them were definitely something that was like, man, I want to get more of these. And the quality of the build was as good as a Rough Rider, just like the person who sent me the knives had said. The only difference was the Steel Warriors and such were running about $1 more than the Rough Riders were. But for the most part, I could not fault them on quality, at least within the slip joints. Now, some of the spring-assisted knives and everything else, they were not as impressive to me as the slip joints were. And that's where you find a lot of those $100 knives, like the Eagle Eye and so on and so forth. Those were the $1 knives. And, well, you know what? for $1, yeah, it was a decent enough beater knife, and it would cut something. The steel quality on them was more like a 420. They didn't hold the edge nearly as well and everything else, but I actually took a really cheap one, and I was actually able to baton through a 2x2 using one of those cheap $1 knives, and it held up fine. Didn't break or anything else, and we're talking about a folder. So, you know, what do you want for a $1 knife? I guess that was the bottom line I was thinking. It's like, these really aren't nearly as bad as I thought they were. And the knives deserved a better reputation than what I was saying. And much of what I was saying before was based off of what I heard other people say. And I realized that basically I was just being a knife snob. I was saying nasty things about a company and a product of a company without ever actually using the knives. Now, are they going to hold up against, say, are there fixed blades? Is one of their fixed blade Bowie knives going to hold up as well as like an Essie? Probably not. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say this knife is every bit as good as, whatever. What I am going to say is, for the price that you're paying, they're a good value knife. That's what I would say about them. Now, with that said, let me move in to more about what I wanted to do with this kickoff video for Frosty Friday. Now, some of you have already seen this book. It is Frost Cutlery, History and Tribute. It is a book about, Jim Frost and his company, Frost Cutlery. The book was actually written by a man named Scott Cuff. I don't know what his relationship to James Frost was. And it was put out by Ozark Small Press. This particular one is the Cutlery Corner Network edition. Now, I don't know if there is an edition other than this, and I don't know if they ever came out with a second edition to this. It was written back in 2012. I just recently purchased it off of Cutlery Corner Network. It was something they were selling during the Christmas season of 2024. Now, Jim Frost died in 2021, January of 2021. This book, which according to the back is a $26.88 price tag on the back here. This book, along with a trapper knife, was being sold for about $25 off of Cutlery Corner Network. You throw in the taxes and throw in the shipping and everything else, and I think it came up to around $30 or something for the whole deal. I don't know, maybe a little more than that, probably closer to about $35 total. But I really wanted the book. I wasn't even interested in the knife at all because, for one thing, the knife was a trapper. We'll get to the knife after I talk a little more about the book and show you the trapper that came with it. But the first time I saw this book, is like, I want that book. And that's mainly because I collect books on knives and stuff, and what better way to get something than, this is the closest thing you're going to get to a history on Frost Cutlery. As I mentioned, it was written by a guy named Scott Cuff. We see here in the contents page the way it is broken down. And what we have is, there's the preface, and then the lunch bucket beginnings. I think a lot of us have heard about the lunch bucket beginnings, how Jim Frost started the company by selling knives out of his lunch bucket at work. And then when sales picked up a little bit more, he started selling them out of his the trunk of his Mustang. And then when sales even picked up more, he started selling them out of the garage at his home. And then basically he was selling so well knives that he ended up opening a factory or opening a warehouse and started selling them out of a warehouse. But this goes from there into a series of interviews by different people. And some of these names are going to sound very familiar, especially to people who watch Cutlery Corner Network. But there's Jeff Daniel. I think a lot of people have heard of him. He also has words from his kids, such as Stephen Frost and who else is here? Stephanie Frost Durham. I guess that's his daughter and executive director of the show. And then some other names that you may have heard of before. Kevin Pipes, owner of Smoky Mountain Knife Works, is also featured in here. He talks a little bit about his relationship with Frost. And then there's Stacy Coombs. Now that is a name from way back when, from early days in Cutlery Corner Network. Stacy Coombs was a custom knife maker, and I think a few people might remember him. And then obviously we go over here and we get into the cable show, the show itself, because there's a series, chapter 3 is just about the cable show. And those names I think a lot of people will know. Terry Duncan. I always wonder, who is Terry? You keep hearing that all over the show. They have Terry's pick now and everything. Remember back when it used to be Jim Frost's pick, and that was the knife that was sold for $8.88 or $18.88 or something, and then it became Terry's pick. Well, Terry Duncan is the cable show product sales manager. So that's who Terry Duncan is, and he's been around with Cutlery Corner from the beginning. And then Tom Odell is featured in here, as well as Sheila Travis and Todd Boone. So all of those people are interviewed in this book. And then the last chapter of the book is on the Frost Falcons, which is a fast-pitch women's softball team located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And there's a lot that he talks about in the book about women's fast-pitch softball because of the team, because he also built a stadium, Frost Stadium, for the team, and he also has scholarships for women's softball to send women to universities and stuff for a scholarship in women's fast-pitch softball. So he's very involved with that as well as cutlery. In any case, I had to grab the book, and I was thrilled to finally get a copy of it. I wish I'd have bought it earlier. I have not read it yet. I have read sections of it, and every time I pick it up and read something in here, it is kind of fascinating to read about. And it also shows some of the knives in there and everything else. So, some pictures and such. But yeah, if you're interested in Frost Cutlery, if you want to know a little bit about the history of Frost Cutlery, this is definitely a book that you should probably try and pick up. If you're a fan of Frost Cutlery, you should try and grab this book. Now, with that said, I'm going to turn around and show the knife that came with this book. So there it was, late at night. This deal shows up on Cutlery Corner Network, and the deal involved this book, Frost Cutlery History and Tribute. Now, this is a book I've been looking for quite some time. I really have wanted this book since the very first time I saw it, and I've been regretting not buying the book when it first came out, right? And it was only offered through Cutlery Corner Network, but I didn't buy it. In any case, here it is around Christmas time, and they have this deal. Buy this knife, the Merry Christmas Frost Cutlery Signature Series knife, and we'll give you this book. It's like, but I don't want this knife. And there's something with the psychology there. It's like, I don't want this knife. I don't want to pay $25 for this knife. I want the book. I actually remember turning off the TV, and then after I turned off the TV, it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I want that book. And I went back and I turned the TV back on. It popped up, and I went over and took a picture of it real quick because to get the number, their number, that they always show on Cutlery Corner Network, because it's like, I want that book. And then I looked at the prices, like, wait a minute, $25. You buy the knife for $25, you get the book for free. I would have paid $25 for the book. So really, I had to rewire my brain and realize that, okay, what I'm doing is I'm buying this book for $25 and I'm getting this knife for free. That's the way I had to finally start thinking about this, that I was buying the book, not the knife. I'm not buying the knife and getting a book free. I'm buying a book and getting the knife free. And I know that sounds really crazy, but that is the way brains are wired. For most people watching that show, this knife was the big deal. They wanted the knife, not the book. For me, I wanted the book, not the knife. Any case, it's a package deal. You had to take one to get the other. And one of the reasons I wasn't crazy about the knife is, well, first of all, it's a holiday trapper. I usually do not buy holiday knives. I have my share of Halloween knives that, all they do is sit there. I don't even carry them around Halloween time. I'm not going to carry this around Christmas time either. But and this was the very first Christmas knife I have ever bought. Never got into the case trappers or anything, and that might be one of the reasons, because most of the holiday knives tend to be trappers, and I'm not a big collector of trappers. But I got to tell you, let's take a look at this knife, because it is a pretty well made knife. We can see here the blade centering is anywhere but perfect. But it is not bad. I don't think it has a sticker on there. No, so I'm not sure if this is 440A or not. I believe it is, because it is a Frost family knife, and most Frost family knives are 440A. The reason it might not have any markings, they may not have done the HRC testing on it, is because of the blade edges. But the cool thing on here, and I've seen this before, is right there, you have the Santa Jim shield on here, which is pretty cool. Not a big fan of shields, right? But this one is pretty cool to have Santa Jim. That's Santa Jim Frost as the shield of the knife. And then you have, I don't know if this is actually engraved in there or if it was a pad stamping that was done to here. But you have, a nice little Christmas wreath or whatever going on there with the candy canes and the ornaments and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Backside is plain. You do have the starburst bolsters going on in the front and back, a nice nickel silver. Back here you see the brass liners with the stainless steel back springs. And then you've got the two blades that are common for a trapper. Up front is a clip blade. And as you can see here, you have a blade edge with Santa Jim hanging off the back of Santa's sleigh. And then you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiny reindeer pulling that sleigh. And, well, Jim is holding on for dear life. And then for a tang stamp, you have Frost family to the right of the Frost family crest going on there. Flip it over. Let me wipe off some oil. The knife came kind of stiff with the blades. I needed to oil it when it showed up. There's a reason for that, though. But we can see here that it is made in China. So not bad. And then the back blade, the spay blade, you have some more etching going on there, and this explains why I needed to oil it when I first got it. 2021 Merry Christmas. Now, I mentioned earlier that Jim Frost died in January of 2021, so this knife was made for release in 2021, Christmas of 2021, so basically about 11 months after Jim Frost's death. From what I remember when this first came out, I remember Todd Boone, who was very emotional at the time, had mentioned that this was one of the last knives that was actually commissioned by Jim Frost himself. The little Santa logo and everything else. This is something that Jim Frost had actually came out with. Now I'm picking it up 3 years later in 2024, but that's pretty cool. I think that this is a 1991 knife. I bought it in 2024, so it's new old stock. The book is also new old stock. And after getting the knife, seeing that 2021 blade etch on there and actually looking at the build quality of it, yeah, the deal itself, the book and the knife together, this was a fantastic deal. And this is a really well-made knife. I know the blade alignment is far from perfect. You can see that. Does it hit? It doesn't quite hit, but it is very close. I know some people would be able to adjust that. I'm not going to mess with it. But you do have some nice looking bolsters on there. I will probably polish them up a little bit because, as you can tell, they are definitely a little tarnished. That's why they're looking more like brass instead of nickel silver. I'm not going to mess around too much with the design on the side here because I got a feeling that could probably wear off if you're not careful with it. But all in all, not bad, and the packaging on it was also very nicely done. The boxes, it's not over the top or anything, but pretty good. And I don't know, all in all, I was pretty impressed with it. This is my very first Christmas knife too. I have since bought another Christmas knife. It's not a Frost knife, but this is the very first Christmas knife I picked up. I'm happy to have it. I don't think it means that I'm going to be picking up a lot more Christmas knives or anything like that, because the main reason I still bought it is because of the book. What little bit I have read of it so far has impressed me. So, any case, this is going to be my kickoff video for Frost Fridays or Frosty Fridays. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit long, but there will be more coming in the future, and they will probably be a little shorter. And as I also mentioned, look for Skip's Fun Knife Friday, because it will also feature a lot of Frost knives, mostly large fixed blade Frost knives. And I might have a little bit of say in those as well. Any case, with that said, I will let you go. And, well, happy Frosty Friday. Talk to you again soon.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.